One of the best things you can do when you are trapped in negativity or trapped in ego, or you're looking to become conscious again, is to engage in something that has no purpose, that has no real worldly value. And when you do it for long enough, you get there, right? So take on an activity that has no utility, that would, in this world, seem like a total waste of time. Surrender to that activity 100%. And paradoxically, you will get there. You will become that conscious, loving version of yourself with access to this higher intelligence that is capable of solving any challenge you might be facing right now. A good example of this is just going for a walk with no specific motive, right? You're not going to a certain destination or you have to get to a certain place before a certain time. No, none of that. Just simply going somewhere. Maybe you're going grocery shopping. Maybe you have like some very loose agenda of what needs to happen, but there's no time limit to it. That's the key. And then you just want to get lost in the doing, right? So as you are walking, for example, you are simply just letting the body walk, okay? And then you're just looking around and embracing this present moment. You can even do it while you're sitting here right now. However, that is a little bit more challenging because of our habitual need to think. But if you are just going for a walk somewhere, your body is engaged. So there isn't that compulsive need to engage your body in an activity, which is what happens when we're just sitting down. If you just sit down in a chair, your mind is going to scream for you to do something. It's extremely hard for the mind to comprehend the utility of simply sitting with your eyes closed. When you are walking, it's like, okay, well, at the very least, the body thinks, well, I'm walking right now. I'm going somewhere. Something is happening. And from this motion, you can look around continuously, stay in the present moment, observe, and once you come back home, you now suddenly notice how you have become way more conscious than you were before. Which is the aim. It's the aim of your day, it's the aim of your life, it's your purpose. Yes, I just told you what your purpose in life is. Isn't that rude? Isn't that rude? How can someone tell you what your purpose in life is? Maybe my purpose is that I just want to suffer. I just want to feel as bad as possible. And I should be allowed to do that. Do you understand that you are not the mind? Because if you understand that, then all power to you. But if you don't understand that, then it's just the mind saying these things. And the mind is self-destructive. So when you have self-destructive thoughts, or self-hating thoughts, or even prideful thoughts, it's not you. It's not your thoughts. It's not what you think. You can't think. You are just observing the thoughts. So you can't say that you want this or the other. But what's more realistic to say is that the mind wants consciousness to arise in this body. What we can say for certain is that when the thoughts stop, and we continue to exist in a thoughtless state, that is extremely liberating, extremely pleasant. So, if you find yourself somewhere on the spectrum between being the absolute worst human being and the absolute best human being, you are trapped in the mind. It's not your thoughts. Don't worry. Let me calm you down. Let me take the burden away for a moment here and just say that that's not true. It's not real. Okay? You've just been caught in this illusion. Maybe for long, maybe not. I don't know. But it's not real. And all those thoughts that you had about yourself, all those either extremely negative or extremely positive or somewhere in between, all these thoughts, they were never yours. Just like you could have some mind virus coming into you and saying these negative things, or like some people, they believe in demons and evil entities coming into the mind and whispering certain things. These metaphors can maybe help you understand what that is. It's not you. Those negative thoughts, self-hating, self-doubting, prideful, I'm the best, I'm the worst, these things, they are not real. In fact, any thought that tries to describe who you are is not real. Any thought that tries to put a label on what you are is not real, including thoughts that try to put a label on what presence is. Right? Because if you say that it's presence and it cannot be anything else than presence, like the word consciousness does not work, the word Holy Spirit does not work, none of these words work, only the word presence works, then you also trap yourself, because today's revelation is the burden of tomorrow. You will find something today that works absolutely wonderful, but tomorrow, if you go back to the same thing, it's not going to work. The mind creates a concept out of these things that are spiritual, and that is not possible. Spirituality is not part of this world. You can't name these things. Just like you can't create a three-dimensional object in two-dimensional space. The logic in which this world operates does not permit spirituality. But because spirituality comes from a higher place, it has total access to this dimension. And what can you do? Can you seek it out? Or should you focus on inviting it in? And there is this saying that if you take one step towards God, God takes 10 steps towards you. So it works both ways. It's the spirituality is about letting go, but the ego needs to be sort of conditioned to want it also. The ego, the mind entity, you essentially needs to know that spirituality, consciousness, is a total solution to your problems. And it should be the go-to remedy for your problems. You need to learn that on an ego level, which is the only level to learn. So I guess you can just say that you have to learn this. You have to learn that spirituality is your main focus and your main priority in life. Everything else comes second to that. And this is the taking the one step towards God part. And at the same time, you let go of the desire, right? Because you can't be in this tension, holding on to a desire, and at the same time realize this higher truth. You have to let go. You have to let go. But when you have the intention, when you've conditioned your mind to seek it out, you will invite more space into your life. You will look at nature in a different way. You will give more attention to the present moment, to all these signposts that can invite this higher truth to take 10 steps towards you. And if you can just do the first thing, that's enough. If you can just make sure to condition yourself to learn, to keep remembering that this works, you know. And whenever you do this, you suddenly realize the things you need to realize. You suddenly get the insights that you needed. You suddenly feel better about your life situation. You suddenly become more capable of attracting the things you need. You suddenly just feel better. Which is what life is all about. You know? And to feel better is something we're chasing in some way, anyway, right? So either we're chasing to feel better through validation or drugs or relationships or accomplishments or mind-stimulating activities, whatever it is. So you already have that part covered. The desire in your mind to feel as good as possible is already there. So all you have to do is just remove all these go-to remedies that you usually consider when you are in a time of crisis maybe, or you just want to feel better. You remove these things from the forefront of your mind. You remove the association between problem and the solution being drugs or alcohol, but rather you create this association between the problem and the solution being become conscious, become present. Even if it feels like an utterly waste of time, even if it feels totally meaningless and you can't see where this possibly would go. You need to have faith that it will work. And you also need to be really honest about yourself and be better at looking back into your history and just say that, okay, look, I was in a devastated state. Then I invited more spaciousness into my life. And then I became conscious and I suddenly started feeling really good. And all these problems that I had before, they were no longer problems. And this has happened again and again and again and again and again and again. And it has happened thousands of times, sometimes dozens of times in one day. Okay, so, and then also realize there is this entity, there is this mind that is very clinging, very attached to things that it can comprehend on an intellectual level, and that it will never understand this. You know, the best thing you can do is continuously harvest this faith, which eventually turns into more and more crystallized faith. You know, so it goes from very ethereal, very like shot in the dark kind of thing to becoming more and more crystallized. It's still just a memory, right? It's still just a concept. And what words you choose to describe this concept is up to you, right? And is it helpful that many different teachers have many different words to say the same thing? Well, it's about finding the one that works for you. It's about finding, or maybe it works for you to have several different words for it. Maybe it works for you to understand that this can be a spirit visiting you, maybe. But it can also work for you to understand that this is just consciousness absent of mind activity. And that you might feel more connected to the former on day one, and on day two you might be like, oh, I connect more to this now. And that's also fine. And on day three, a third word for the same thing is going to appear, which you will feel more connected to.